Greetings, programs, and welcome to Day 6 of Primetime Part 2. So, today, just gonna hop into it. We're looking at yet another Titan's Return Optimus Prime, which means it's also another triple changer. But this time, it's the leader class Power Master Optimus Prime. And funny enough, yes, this is also another Optimus Prime figure that's a retool of someone else. This is actually a retool of the Combiner Wars Ultra Magnus. Though, this is a very heavy retool to where it does start coming off as much more of its own thing. So, cab and trailer are actually permanently attached to each other. So, this is just one unit right here. As you can see, there is actually space in the trailer to put something if you wanted. Very tiny windows, massive, massive grille. Come back here, look at the back of it. Other side. I do appreciate this is all like painted and tampographed on here. Much nicer than the usual sticker garbage you got with Titan's Return and stuff. Major props. And as you can see, he's got a bunch of little weapon ports all over. And for those, you get these two black rifles, which are actually just, these are straight up the guns that came with Ultra Magnus as well. Which means, if you know that gun, or if you know the Ultra Magnus, you know that these combine. You don't get the rest of it to make the Magnus hammer, but you can stick these together. Or you can go ahead, pop them down in here. I've actually seen some people also manage to get the handles, like, to peg in here. I don't know by what magic they do that. So, yeah, I use those, or I just shove the gun inside the trailer. And then right here, we actually have spots to use these, which are modeled, you know, quite a bit like, you know, the G1 version of this guy. For some reason, my brain always wants to think that Power Master Prime was G2. No, still G1. But anyway, these have got pegs on the side, pegs on the top. A lot of different ways you can stick these things onto the trailer here. So you can get them all armed up like that. And just for a quick comparison, here he is with the actual G1 Power Master Prime. So, the new guy is, he's definitely smaller, but he ends up being a oddly faithful recreation, even though, again, this is a Magnus figure. Also, funny thing to point out, these guns turn, you know, that way and become, you know, something that the little guy can sit on. For anyone who didn't watch the video on this guy, G1, same thing. Turn the gun that way, and you put the Power Master in there. So, it's just kind of funny to me that somehow, you know, 25, 30 years apart, whatever it was, these guys actually managed to retain most of the same gimmicks. And before we get into yet another case of them sharing gimmicks, you can go ahead and look at his little Titan Master. This is Apex, which I know it's a reference to something to do with the G1 version. I want to say when you took Optimus and put the trailer on him as armor, that was the Apex armor, something like that. I'm not sure. Oh, and before I forget, worth noting, there is a Japanese release of this, obviously. The Japanese release is actually quite a bit retooled, even further from this. And that's because you can actually get it you can buy a second figure of God Bomber, which means you could actually put another trailer coming off the back of this. And then after you transform this into Optimus, you can then take God Bomber and turn him into armor for Optimus. Or, obviously, in that case, Jinrai It's not even Convoy there. That one's Jinrai, which means, yes, this thing is called Jinrai in Japan as well. And go ahead, take a look at his face. Very similar head sculpt, actually, to the Orion Pax figure we looked at the other day. So, really cool head sculpt, actually. And you can actually have him in the cab. There is a chair of sorts in here, where you just take this guy, sit him down, and then this little piece that comes off the back of all their feet will sit into there to hold them in place. And there you go. So, go ahead, close it back up. And everything does condense down into one very cohesive unit. I gotta give it credit for that. So, immediately taking him right back out, which he's very eager to do. Gonna fold this panel down. Yes, we're transforming this thing. Yay. And fold this down. Funny enough, directions for this second mode say to leave this piece open. I genuinely don't know why you would. It just makes things more annoying. I'm closing it up. So, then, gonna go through, rip off all the guns, get those out of the way, come to the back, and in a bit of a weird bit of transformation, we're actually going to just pull these panels out with much difficulty. Yeah, this looks like the kind of connection that's actually, you know, a hinge for something to rotate on. But it is actually just holding these in place. So, there you can get a good view of just how much space there is inside this trailer. I do actually kind of appreciate that you have an Optimus with an empty trailer. But, same thing on the other side. Hopefully this one will come off a little bit easier. Okay, it did. Awesome. Bring it back. Then we're going to split the legs, which will also free up these pieces. Hopefully I can keep this all in shot. Gonna take these panels, flip them up, then split these and rotate them down to the side. Clearly that will be his arms later, but for now we're just gonna stand these straight up on their ratchets. And worth noting, this is going to just keep folding up while you're working on the figure, unfortunately. They really should have given this a place to, like, lock in or something. But they didn't, so we get to be frustrated with it. Go ahead, take this piece and just rotate it up. Then you're going to take what is very clearly the legs, rotate them sideways, and it's very hard to show, but there's a little tab sticking up right there on this blue piece. So you're actually going to untab this gray panel, rotate it, and you won't really be able to see it, but you'll feel when it finds the second tab slot and tabs back in. So go ahead, make sure this piece didn't come untabbed. Then you're going to rotate this forward, bring this down, bring that down one click, and then rotate at what will be the knee. And that side's all done. Same thing over here. Turn it sideways. Rotate this around. Peg it in the second slot. Down. Down. Rotate. Check if I've kept things even. Which I haven't quite. And there you have Optimus Prime in his base mode. And I love the fact that this is here, because this looks so much like the G1 base mode. Like, again, this is a retool of a figure that was already out, but somehow they managed to retool it to have this mode just like the old version did. That's actually impressive to me. So, just like the old one, you can take these guns, plug them in right here, give it turrets. All of the Titan Returns base modes, you can actually use these to connect them to each other. So if you want, you can just swing these out, make that a little more accessible, connect it to other guys. Sadly, there's not really anywhere to use those black long rifles like there was with the G1 version. But it's fine. I'm shocked and impressed, frankly, that it does this much. He does have a lot of these little tiny pegs sticking out all over the place. You can use those to just, stand your Titan Masters around him. Or, like I said earlier, sit him down. You can use those guns as turrets. I'll see if I can find it. Somewhere I've got a picture where I got this thing set up nicely, and it actually looked kind of cool. But, again, it's not... I know it's not, the best base mode ever, but the fact that it is so accurate to the original it's cool. I can't help it. I really like it. So, enough rambling about me being happy that this does something a 30-year-old toy did. Gonna go ahead and actually finish getting this into robot mode, which there's not a lot to do, actually. So, first thing we're gonna do, just rotate these down, straighten them out, come down here. The foot is on a double hinge. Just going to bring it out all the way. Then fold this panel up all the way around. That will tab in right there. Though, really it's the stopping points on these big gray panels holding it in place. That just keeps it from shifting. Same thing over here. Straighten it out. Double hinge. Bring out the foot. Wrap it around the panel. Bring down the legs. Adjust the camera because this guy lives up to being leader class. Just rotate the arms out like this for now. And then here's where things get pretty cool. So we're going to open this piece back up. The cab, I guess. Reach in here, grab what was the seat. And this is on just a whole bunch of hinges. That will come up and actually be Optimus Prime's helmet. So, fold up the little stand piece. Close this all back up. Again, make sure you've got this piece folded down, especially now, since that's what gives you the clearance here. Then you're going to actually take the front of the cab, tilt it back, and rotate it around like this. Then the cab itself is on a slider at its connection point. So you will slide that down, it'll come down and actually pull itself forward. Then just finish taking this, bring it down all the way, set it down in the chest, rotate this up, and close this panel up. Then last thing you're going to want to do is open up the helmet. Bring this in as close as I can so you can see it, hopefully. Take Apex here, fold him up, drop him down in here. Not only will the head lock into the normal port, but again, that back of the leg tab will sit in there to help keep him straight. Then just fold the helmet up and over. And there you have Leader Class Power Master Optimus Prime in robot mode. And this thing is great. Like I said in the last video, that other Titans Return Optimus was a little questionable. This thing is just great in basically all ways. So, as you can see, Apex's eyes are still very visible, even in this, bad lighting. You can still see him right there inside the helmet really well. More tampographed Autobot logos on his arms. Oddly clean transformation. A lot of just gray going on, but that thing had a lot of gray going on too. You don't get to complain about this Optimus having a lot of gray on him. Posability-wise, the head is actually able to rotate all the way around because of how this whole mechanism works. No up and down movement, sadly. Very loud, really nice ratchets for the shoulders. And ratcheted outward movement, which, if you fold this little panel up, you can get his arms to go all the way out. The elbow's supposed to be a ratchet. On mine, that ratchet has perished on both sides. I know it's supposed to be a ratchet because I have the Magnus version of this mold, and it clicks, so... But, they still work fairly well, even without the ratchets. You can actually open his hands, and as you can see, there's a little slot down in there. So that's actually how you'll give him his guns, is you'll just slot them in down there, and then close the hand up on it. It's not the greatest connection, but once you've got everything closed up, he does decently at holding his weapons. No waist articulation, but he can kick forward that far. Can kick back that far, apparently. You can do the full splits. He can drop his gun. He can rotate at the thigh. Not quite 90 degrees of bend at the knee. Try to keep everything closed up here. And you can tilt the foot around using those double hinge. As well as the feet. The feet are molded at an angle. So you're going to want to keep him slightly A-posed rather than having him standing, straight. His legs can't even go straight together, to be honest. And just like the G1, go ahead and put these, put the big gray blasters on his shoulders. Make him look awesome. Unfortunately, as you saw, he's not the best at holding these. Once you get them in, they're not going to fall out on their own. But you want to make sure that you've got him completely posed before you try giving him those. But overall, it is still a really, really cool figure. And despite how big it is and how, frankly, few stopping points there are in his in the ratchets, as well as the length of actual usable ankle tilt. Japanese version had usable ankle tilt, not this one. But even with those few downsides and me shaking the table, this guy is still a really, really cool Optimus Prime. And he's definitely worth picking up if you find him for a decent price. So, thank you guys for watching. I have something really special planned for tomorrow. So, cross your fingers that the mail gets here when it's supposed to. That's all I'm going to say. See you guys next time.